Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, gamers. We're back with another daily Race World First recap. Today's Race World First recap is probably going to be a little bit faster than most of the other ones. Generally, there wasn't a ton that happened today. There was some things that are important to talk about as they're going to affect the texture of the raid, but generally, this is like a reset day for Liquid. At the time of recording this, I mean, they're just like halfway through their reset. They're halfway through their reclear. I think they're killing Broodkeeper at the time of this. And then as for Echo, basically what they did was they pulled Raszageth 100 times or something like that, and then started to do some gearing and some part of the gearing process to make sure that everybody was going to be in a good state gear-wise going into the reset.
Yeah, we see Liquid taking the lead here on our leaderboard with the exact same boss percentage. That's because they're both in that P1 intermission, which looks unbelievably messed up on Mythic, but has received a large set of nerfs a couple of hours ago as of the time of recording this, which they basically cut the health of all of the ads in that intermission in half. Which
well, that's speculatively. So what Wowhead is reporting is there is nothing from data mining that seems as if the ads have been nerfed by 50%.
Okay.
So speculatively, from potentially like a Race World First Discord, it seemed like the Liquid casters for the Race World First were reporting that they had heard that the boss's ad HP got nerfed by 50%.
I also heard it from a secret source as well, so...
But it's all hearsay at this point.
It is, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it was true, though, because those ads... I mean, Echo sent 19 players to one of the sides, and they did not make the DPS check.
So I also think it's true, but again, I need to make sure that it's known that it is hearsay.
So here there have been some other nerfs that have been actually data mined. And,
yes.
These are some minor nerfs to the damage of the encounter, but nothing that really changes too much about it. None of these were things that were insurmountable challenges, though. It just makes Phase 1 a little bit more reliable, and some of those mechanics do show up in the later phases as well.
Exactly.
So a slight reduction in the damage that Raszageth deals. If they haven't actually nerfed the health of the intermission ads, then we are still looking at a New Year's tier is the thing.
I'm surprised if the nerf amount is actually 50%. I'm also kind of surprised because I don't know if it necessarily needed a 50% nerf, but
it looked like it.
It did need a significant nerf. But with next reset's worth of gear and stuff like that, I could have foreseen like a 35% nerf, right?
Something like that might have been possible, yeah, but it was really far off the realm of possibility at the old values. So I think 50 was actually a reasonable number here, which we'll see if that, again, we're not 100% sure that change is actually in, but we think it is. So
yeah, I mean, we're gonna know within the next little bit whenever Liquid finishes their reclear.
Yeah, and once they get to Raszageth, which...
Yeah, get to Raszageth Mythic.
Yeah.
Okay, so like let's talk about how this kind of thing affects the texture of the raid. So with massive nerfs, sometimes they favor one guild or the other. I feel like with the timing of this, both guilds kind of get off a little bit more even. Because Liquid was in the middle of their reclear, Echo was ending their raid around the time that these nerfs happened. Of course, Liquid is always going to be just innately favored in the Race to World First just due to reset to time advantage and stuff like that. And there is a situation where if the boss now just falls over, it could be due to these nerfs.
Yeah, so I don't think we're looking at a boss where that's going to happen.
Okay.
Based off of how this has looked. It seems to me like it's pretty likely to still be a boss that poses some challenges to
I think it's reasonable
to both guilds. I think we're going to see probably like a Friday, a Saturday kill at current difficulty looking of the fight, assuming phases 2 and 3 in the second intermission are a step up in difficulty from phase 1, and now the phase 1 intermission maybe a slight step down in difficulty if that 50% health nerf is in. But I mean, it's true that both guilds threw away a lot of pulls on a phase that seemed impossible. I'm not sure which one necessarily lost more or less, and there may be some analysis after the race of like who lost more time pulling a pre-nerf boss, but at the end of the day, like, this sort of thing is pretty normal, and it's not like a Queen Ajara situation where one guild had P1 clean and was doing this intermission for 3 days, and the other guild, was catching up during that time and then caught up and then a nerf hit, right?
Yeah.
That was what happened with Queen Ajara. That was horrible. This, definitely not that case. This one is more of like
both of these guilds are fairly even. I do still think the guild who plays better down the stretch is going to end up winning this race.
Right, absolutely, yeah. It's close to 50-50, I would say, at this point, with, maybe 60-40 Liquid still.
Dude, I'm surprised that those ads... Okay, so generally whenever you see something that's overtuned, you don't see it need a 50% nerf. That is like,
I mean, that's so we were casting as they were getting to
Oh
this.
my God. Yeah, we were
this
casting
intermission, and it's a tough thing to talk about because it's like, okay, you don't want to be calling for nerfs, but looking at the fact that they sent 19 players to one half of the intermission and they were unable to beat the DPS check with 19 players on that side,
dude.
that sort of thing screams like not just, okay, this clearly needs nerfs, but like, yeah, this clearly needs massive nerfs. So I'm not surprised to see these nerfs coming in.
I remember whenever we saw it, I literally just like leaned back on the couch and was like, okay, so when is this nerf happening? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like, it's not like a question of
If.
when.
Yeah.
It's a question literally of when is it happening. Okay, so Vault Day. Let's talk about that a little bit. Speculatively, it seems like tier drops have increased from the Vault. Now, this is not 100% confirmed yet, but it seems like more players are getting options of tier out of their Vault this tier than they did in Sepulcher.
I got tier in my M+ slot this week as well.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
So, I mean, that'll be good for... Okay, not... Obviously, it's not important for the context of the Race World First. You know, maybe it gives them a couple item levels on some tier pieces. But, I mean, it's going to be good for players just across the board.
Yeah, it does mean that non-split running guilds will be getting an extra source of tier to help them catch up to the split running guilds, and even like 2 split running guilds are going to be able to get that full 4-piece on their raid much quicker, like a week before they probably otherwise would have.
I think in general this would be good for more.
I mean, yeah,
Hall of Fame level guilds, cutting edge level guilds. I mean, honestly, just every other guild except for Race World First guilds.
Everybody is getting tier sooner if you're filling up your vault, and this is true, especially if it's true that the M+ spots have a higher tier weighting.
Now, both Liquid and Echo were trying to gear up some additional characters. I know that Liquid was looking to gear some evokers. One Preservation evoker specifically was trying to get like a lot of gear. I know that Echo was looking to gear Noggy's DK and Frago's Warrior.
So those characters were unsaved to Mythic on the first reset. So they actually ran a Mythic split raid, which
you always meme about, and I always say that you're crazy.
Yeah, now to be fair, it wasn't a real split in the sense that I envisioned of like, let's run 2 equal splits. It was more a case of like, okay, we have a couple of mains that are unsaved to Mythic. Let's run the first 2 bosses, the first 2 easy bosses of Mythic with those characters and a bunch of alts, like the best alts we have, and give those characters a Mythic vault and also chances at some Mythic loot from those first 2 bosses. And yeah, I mean, there was
also a couple other characters. I think it was like Dota's Priest and Soul's Priests.
There were a few people in Echo have 2 mains.
Yeah,
and you know they've often been seen on 0 or 1 of those in progression so far, but they kind of have the flexibility there. And since we were getting to the end of the reset, Raszageth progression was not worth doing because of the pre-nerf nature of that intermission. Assuming that nerf is actually into the health values of those ads, then yeah. I think it was a worthy use of time.
I do think there is a chance that we see Frago's Warrior.
Yeah, and the Noggy's DK as well. DK looking solid on Raszageth.
I think that both could actually see some play on those fights.
We'll see. I mean, there's composition on that encounter is an interesting challenge, and what's best for one phase might not be best for the other phases as well. So it may depend on which phase they choose to be the hardest one, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see how this is going.
Outside of healer compositions, Liquid and Echo have been largely running a very similar damage composition this raid.
Most guilds have been kind of playing 1 or 2 of most of the good specs, and then there's like 3 on some fights of Rogue, Arcane Mage, Boomkin.
Everybody's been like rainbow comped and then like stacking Rogue is what it...
Rogue. It depends on the encounter. Like I think we're seeing 2 on Raszageth for Echo.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many Liquid are playing, so...
Okay. I think that beyond that, just to kind of round out the top 5, we currently have Method, BDGG, and Instant Dollars. Method was pulling Broodkeeper Diurna a little bit earlier. I was watching that. It seems like Method and BDGG are just interlocked.
It's so cool, actually, to have a Race for World Third that is looking so intense between those 2 guilds.
Look at this. 1 and 2, 64.8. 3 and 4, 57-point-ish.
Yep. And then we got Instant Dollars coming in at world 5th right now, nearly through Kurog Grim Totem. That guild is absolutely destroying this tier, and that is not a Race to World First guild. That is a guild that has Race to World First casters in it, so incredible work by them.
They've been raiding a lot, but they're not like day raiding they have like 1 day raid, right?
Yeah, something like that. So they raid infrequently enough that somebody can that people can cast the Race to World First in that guild, which is not true of any of the higher ranked guilds. So very impressive out of the dollars there.
That does check out. And then
Oh, and hey, the Chinese guilds as well have also been getting a little bit walled. We were expecting to see potentially one or two of them make their way into this top 5, JTH or Skyline, but both of them were over 150 pulls on Dathia, and just been getting absolutely dismantled on that fight.
I kind of expected more out of Skyline. I thought that they were going to be a little bit better this tier, but yeah, 150 pulls on Dathia is just not something you can feasibly like overcome and have a competitive rank this tier while having 3x the amount of pulls on Dathia that you
Yeah,
should.
I mean, I think they might be able to brute force their way into a reasonably high ranking if they can just pull the bosses enough, but it's going to be hard.
It's so weird because Dathia got a 15% health nerf, and both Echo and Liquid just bounced that boss the moment it got nerfed.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show like the caliber of play that Echo and Liquid are capable of, and also to a slightly lesser extent, but still to a very impressive extent, BDGG and Method is very high. And
then you have like Fat Shark Yes and Instant Dollars killing it like 5 item levels down.
Yeah, exactly. Those guilds also just out of their mind good.
Cool. I think we should be back tomorrow. Hopefully, we're going to be able to talk about a lot of Raszageth stuff. I think that
I suspect it will be.
It's a gearing process for Echo tomorrow.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance Liquid will have been starting to reach P2 at this point tomorrow. But
that'd be good. If Liquid's reaching P2 tomorrow, we'll have some interesting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it depends on how long they spend doing splits and stuff. But
I think their Thaddeus mark mechanic. I wonder if they're going to change their heroic to mythic way that they're stacking the Thaddeus marks.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting question. We'll have to see exactly how that mechanic gets handled. That'll be us tomorrow, though. That's the end of us today.
Goodbye. We'll see you guys tomorrow.